Hi there. Thank you so much for joining. We're going to give the other attendees about 4 minutes. We're going to start right at 10 o'clock. So I will be with you shortly. Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. We are going to get started. My name is Nadine Rosenstiel, and I'm going to give you an overview of our Personal Umbrella Comparative Reader. If at any time you have any questions, in the right-hand corner of the box, you'll see a chat feature. Just send me a chat if you have a question, and I'd be more than happy to answer it for you. Before I forget, I want to invite everybody. On May 8th, we are having a free 2-hour CE in our office. There's going to be a morning session and an afternoon session. Look for that Evite. We are in Greensburg, Pennsylvania, which is in Western PA. So if you're in the area or would like to visit, you're more than welcome to attend. Again, it's a free CE. It's 2 hours and it'll be all about Personal Umbrella. So I hope we can see some of you. First thing is, how do you get onto our website? We have a lot of new customers, and thank you so much for joining us. Our website is www.toscano.com. So it's www.toscano.com. And I'm hoping that you can see our homepage. On the right-hand side is where you enter your user ID and your password. If you do not have a user ID or password, please feel free to call me or Melissa Tressler, and we would be more than happy to set you up with a password. You'll also see there's a link, sign up for a login, or if you forgot your password, which I do quite frequently because everything seems to be a password protected nowadays, just feel free to click either one of those links. So after you enter your information, you hit login. On the left hand of the page, you see our all of our raters that are available to you online. We have commercial and personal lines raters. These are access to you 24/7. So whenever you have a need, please feel free. There's no time restrictions on what time of day that you can log in and quote. I know a few of our websites, some of them have different time restrictions, which sometimes can be a hassle. So you click on the personal lines rating. And on the right-hand side of the page is the personal umbrella comparative rater. Again, these are all the other raters that we offer in personal lines, but for today, we're going to use the personal umbrella comparative rater. Now, this comparative rater rates 3 of our companies, RLI, USLI, and Hudson. So you enter in the information one time, and it will give you a quote for all 3 companies. There are some times that you will not get a quote, it will get submitted to us. So for instance, if the insured has 2 accidents and 1 DUI, more than likely that is going to be submitted to us. For the most part, we always try to provide a quote with the information that you added, because the last thing we want to do is to have you do extra work. We know how busy you are, and to ask more questions, that's something that we really try to avoid. But there may be times that we need to come back to you and say, he had a fatality. Can you please tell me a little bit about this? Or there's a $1 million claim that's still open. Can we, can I have a little bit more information on that? We don't like to give declines. We do want to rate your business. There's not too many risks that we cannot do. We can do an open claim. We just need to know the reserve amount and the situation of what happened. We can do an elderly person with high activity, or a family with young drivers with some activity on them. Big thing now that we have been seeing are LLCs and trusts. We can do personal umbrellas for LLCs, trusts, estates, a situation like that. The one thing on a personal umbrella that you have to keep in mind is the underlying liability form must be on a personal lines form. So we do have situations with insureds that have multiple rental dwellings, and those rental dwellings are on a commercial form. Unfortunately, we cannot quote them on a personal umbrella. We can write the dwelling fire business on a personal line form if you want. We'd be more than happy to give you a quote, but the underlying form has to be on a personal lines form. We do have a commercial umbrella for those cases that we can provide for you, but that's the one thing to keep in mind, that the underlying form has to be on a personal lines form. Multiple dwellings are okay. Out-of-state risks are okay. I'm trying to think what else that we receive with the umbrellas that, sometimes people just want the extra liability coverage on those rental dwellings. So they don't want to include the home and the auto. We can write just excess liability over those rental dwellings. Those are called an excess CPL. We're unable to quote those on this comparative rater. It's strictly for umbrellas, which go over the home, the auto, any ATVs or boats. But we do keep in mind that we do have markets for an excess CPL. So let's get started. So you hit the start a new quote, enter in the simple information of the first name. Again, we really try to ask the minimum questions. It's going to seem like there's a lot of questions, but it's the information that we need. We have 3 carriers, so some of them ask the same questions 3 different times. That's why a few of them seem redundant. When we get into it, you'll see what I mean. But for the most part, we do try to get the minimum information possible. Also, at any time, we are willing to do a phone quote. So if you want to give one of our underwriters, you can call Danielle Heisong, Carrie Bush, Judy Britton, Deb Belcher. They would be more than happy to give you a phone quote. So the first name insured, I'm just going to use mine. And it's already filling it in because I've done some practice quoting. It asks for the address, the state, and the primary zip code. So with the state, we get some confusing, especially with elderly people that are snowbirds who go from the north to the south. So it's always your primary address that you rate it on. So if that person is voting in PA, is their driver's license in PA, but they have a seasonal home in Florida that they go to for 5 months out of the year, you're going to rate that as PA business. If they're in Florida for 8 months out of the year and their driver's license has changed, they're paying, that's where they're voting, that risk would have to be written in as a Florida. Qualifying questions. Has the insured or any member of the household been indicted, charged with conviction of a felony within the last 5 years? Is the primary residence located outside the U.S.? Is any watercraft to be operated outside the U.S. coastal waters? Those are 3 of the questions that we absolutely cannot do in umbrella. Again, we don't like to decline, but if you have a primary home in the Bahamas, or if your insured has a felony, unfortunately, we cannot do those with any of our carriers. And you hit next. This is the general information. So it's asking you the number of residents, primary or seasonal. We're just going to say 1 for now. Number of units occupied the insured, primary or seasonal. How many rental units? What are the total number of rental units? So why this is being asked this way is one of our carriers, if you have a 3-family rental dwelling, one of our carriers rates it as 3 separate locations. We have the second carrier rents it only as 1. So that's why we have to ask it that way. I know it sounds redundant and a little silly, but that's the reason we have to distinguish how many of those rental dwellings are family occupied, how many actual units. What are the total number of rental property units? How many residential properties owned or rented by you or any member of your household are located outside the U.S.? How many motorized vehicles? We're just going to say 1 for now. How many recreational vehicles, such as snowmobiles, not licensed for road use? How many antique, classic, or collector cars? How many personal watercrafts? Those are like jet skis. How many watercrafts other than canoes? Those are your boats, your sailboats. How many acres of timberland or land which is farmed? This kind of confuses some people that they see timberland, so they're actually seeing, wonder like forests. But if you have any type of acreage on your property, please include that here. We are able to go over farm owners, so that's also falls within the eligibility requirements. How many drivers have been licensed to drive in the U.S. less than 1 year? So they're looking for inexperienced drivers. Do you live in a recreational vehicle full-time? Purchase excess UM/UIM. I'm not going to check either one of those. Let's hit next. This is where you add your drivers. So I'm just going to fill out my name real quick, my date of birth. I am the insured. The driver's license is PA, and you can either use the drop-down arrow or you could do the state initials. Again, we do other states other than PA. I'm just using PA because that's the state that we're in today. Any at-fault accidents, minor violations, major incidents, or drug or alcohol offenses. You have to enter in the actual numeric entries in here. So if you have none, you do a 0. Any reckless, careless driving suspensions, felonies within, again, it's asking about the felonies, and has physical or mental impairment. And you just simply click Add Driver. And then we go to next. So these are the yes and no underwriting questions. So it's going to ask you, and again, if there is a yes, please don't think it's ineligible. More than likely, it's going to come to us for review. We may need to send you a separate supplement. So for instance, the first question is the name insured a trust, estate, limited partnership, family partnership, or LLC. If you hit yes, it's going to get submitted to us. More than likely, we're going to send you a supplement, a trust supplement, LLC supplement. That is something that we're going to have to go to the company to have them quote up for us. Does the insured or any member of the household have an occupation, professional, entertainer, athlete? Again, we are able to do this. There's just some additional questions that we have to answer. We have a few famous people. The rates are a little bit different than an average person. So of course, if you have somebody of a Kim Kardashian is probably going to have a higher rate than your local news celebrity. So they do Google everyone. It's kind of funny because we've had some older actors and come through, and some of the team, the younger generation, didn't recognize who they were. And these are actors that are maybe in their 80s, and we just catch a glimpse of them. They'd be like, "Oh, who's this?" And we're like, "Oh my," it's just kind of funny, the age difference, how you don't recognize a famous actor sometimes because of their age. So, and two, what's famous to you is not famous sometimes to the company. So we had, if you have a local judge or local mayor, the company will actually tell us, hey, this is not really considered a celebrity, even though, the mayor might be a celebrity in your town. He's just going to have normal rates just like everybody else. So let's see, where are we? Are any locations to be covered by this policy leased to others for hunting, fishing, or other sporting or recreational purposes? Again, that is something that we can do. Hunting will be excluded though. Has the insured or any other driver had an arrest, citation, conviction for driving under influence? Has the insured or any member of the household had any personal liability, personal auto claims exceeding $25,000 in the last 5 years? Again, that is something that we can do, but we would need to submit that with details of that claim to the company. Does the insured, any member of the household, or any person residing in the household have a personal umbrella policy? So what we're looking for in that question is, are they just shopping a rate, they're looking to move, or do they want an excess policy? So if they have a $3 million currently, we're going to ask you, okay, do they want to replace it with another carrier, or do they want excess over that $3 million? Is basically, and our umbrella limits go up to 10 million just on a standalone umbrella. Another thing that is that you do not have to control the underlying business to qualify for the umbrella. So if you don't have the home and auto, you can still provide the umbrella quote. You do not have to control the underlying. Is the underlying coverage other than an auto or farm owners written on a commercial form? Is a farmer ranch with farm owners revenues exceeding $5,000? Is there any business exposure operation covered by the primary homeowners? What it's looking for is more than likely we will be able to cover that. It's just they want to know what the underlying business is. I can think of one situation that we had to decline it because the home was actually included on that business policy. So we couldn't go over that business policy. So we had to unfortunately decline. Is there any underlying auto coverage being provided entirely by business? Any locations used for rooming houses? Any exotic pets? Again, that is something that we can do. More than likely, if the underlying is excluding it, we're going to exclude it too. Any aircraft owned? Any premises owned? Do you employ any resident employees? Does any primary policy have reduced limits of liability? Was the coverage declined or canceled within the last 5 years? It's asking information about the power boats. Do you have motor vehicle records on all drivers in the household and details on at-fault accidents? The MVRs you do not need for quoting. We do run MVRs at binding, so there have been situations that insureds have a tendency to forget, especially when it's a minor little accident. So we might quote it with no accident, but when we do the binding process, the MVR will come back with activity. Of course, we will tell you that if the premium increases and let you know and to confirm whether or not they want that or not. If you are unsure whether or not the accident, is going to be counted, we always say count it. And then when it goes to binding, if it's not on the MVR, then we'll take it off. Were any of the additional residence units rented to buildings prior to 1980? This is only for New York RIS. Were any of the additional resident units rented to others prior to 1978? That's just for these states here. Is there a paid crew for any owned watercraft? Are the minimum underlying limits for automobiles covered completely by business, auto, or garage? Again, these are yes and no's, and it's asking you if an additional insured needs. And then any other information that you want to provide for this, like for instance, we can take it, but if the couple, is engaged, how do I do that type of situation? Can I include them? Again, if it's an estate type of situation, and all you do is hit next. This is asking for the underlying liability limits of the home. We're going to say 300,000 of the automobile. If there's any watercraft or wreck vehicles, does the insured agree to maintain underlying liability coverage? We're going to say yes. And we're going to maintain all of the auto limits. And our one company, Hudson, does include ID theft. We're just not going to pick that for today. Okay. What this is doing now, it actually goes back to those 3 carriers, to those websites to get the quote. So everything, I know I have a tendency to be impatient if anything's more than a second. I think my computer's broken and I'm clicking the mouse 18,000 times, which I shouldn't, but that's why it does seem like it's taking a little bit longer than normal, but it's actually going to those websites, working up the quote, and then it's sending it back to us. So again, the 3 websites are Hudson, USLI, and RLI. Okay, so here are our quotes. Here are limits available. Again, with USLI and Hudson, we can go up to 10 million. Just though for the online quoting, we only have access to 5 million. Anything over 5 million, we have to go back to the company to get a quote. So it's showing you each line what the premium is for. So on just depending on which one you pick, if you click on it, the premium, it tells you again who the carrier is, when the quote expires, the premium, the limit, and click on the hyperlink for the quote letter. And here is your umbrella quote now. Gives you a little synopsis of what we just entered. So this is very helpful, especially to me. We all make mistakes, so I can just eyeball it and like, oh, I forgot to get a fault accident. You just go back to edit it. If you want excess UM/UIM, which in the beginning it asked that, which we did not, the premium would be here. You need to add this premium and this premium to get together to get the total premium. Okay, and then the application. And there's the application. So it pre-fills everything that we just had entered in. So basically on this type 1, and I do believe it's for the other 2 carriers, the only thing that you really have to enter is the driver's license number, probably the mailing address, the primary, your requested effective date, and then the insured has to sign it. So it's that easy and that quick to get a quote. So the insured likes the premium. So how do I bind it? I'm not sure if you received our email, but Personal Lines is happy to say that everything is now direct bill. So we always need, nothing ever needs to be mailed to us via the mail. Everything can be emailed to us. So what we need I'm going to show you. For the RLI, is just the signed application and a copy of the check. The check has to be paid in full. That can all be emailed to us. The check is going to be EFT'd. We're going to go back to the other carriers. USLI and Hudson are the same way and what is needed. We will need the pre-filled app, but we'll also need the quote letter, because the quote letter is telling us when it's to bind and what payment options that you would like. And it's actually then signed by you. So in this case for USLI and Hudson, we're going to need the copy of this quote letter and the copy of the application. If you don't send this quote letter, it is okay. It's not the end of the world if you just send the app. We're just going to give you a call and say, hey, what payment options do you want? Or what's the effective date that you need? So don't panic if you forget to send it to us. Again, it's no big deal. We try to be hassle-free. So, and that's about it. It's very simple, as you can see. It's very quick. Again, if you have any questions, please type me a message. Or a lot of times I do realize when you get back to your desk, then you realize, oh my gosh, what do I do here? So my email address is Nadine, Nadine @toscano.com, or my phone number is 866-442-8063, extension 408. Please feel free to call me, call any members of our team, email me, no question. I've heard them all, believe me, so don't be embarrassed if, we all get those, little freeze out sometimes with our brain because we're all so busy. Another thing that you can do for the staff, if, oh, I forgot what her email address is, or I lost that sticky note. On our website, the staff is always listed here under the staff tab. And that's everybody in our organization. So if you scroll, you can scroll down to us, or if you select the department, personal lines, and there's everybody. So and there I am. So if you could, there's our email addresses and there's our extensions. So that's about it. Again, May 8th is our in-house CE. 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, 2 hours is absolutely free to you. I hope you can join us if you're local. And again, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to call. And thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And I hope this was beneficial to you. And just give us a call. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.